Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spaghetti Westerns podcast. I'm Tom Betts, your host. This is season 9, episode 2, number 142. Today we're going to talk about rebels in Canada in our history of the Spaghetti Westerns. Then we're going to talk about who are those gals, Christa Nell, whatever happened to Ettore Manni, and they're connected. The film of the week will be the cult classic Blindman. Got an autograph of the week. We got a book of the week. Got a bunch of posters from the films we're going to cover. CD of the week. Also, we'll cover the news of the week. So let's get started and we'll talk about the history of the spaghetti westerns and rebels in Canada. Okay, Rebels in Canada. This is a 1965 Spanish-Italian co-production. The Spanish title is Rebeldes en Canada. Also Spanish title of Canada Salvaje. The Italian title is E Tre del Colorado. The British title is Canadian Wilderness. And then the English titles are Three from Colorado, Revolution in Canada, Hudson River Massacre. You'll see that sometimes published. But most of us know it as Rebels in Canada. The director was Armando de Osorio, noted basically for his horror films. The story and screenplay was also by De Osorio. The cinematography is by Fulvio Testi. I don't know if he's related to Fabio. Eastman Color and Total Scope. The music is by Carlos Savina. And there's a song in this, Los Arboles Blancos, sung by the great Diana Loris. The film runs 98 minutes. The main actors in this one are Victor de Frois, played by George Martin, Muia Orsor, played by Pamela Tudor, James Sullivan is played by Santiago Rivera, and then there's Nella Ornina, played by Diana Loris, Anne Sullivan is played by Giulia Robini, and Leo Lamo or Limus is played by Franco Fantasia. A couple of other names you'll recognize in the cast are Captain Robert Doyle, played by Mirko Ellis. Metis Trapper is played by Raph Baldwin. That's Rafael Baldassar. And Walter Butler is played by Simone Arriaga. And Jacob is played by Francisco Nieto. So the story goes, exasperated by the constant abuses perpetrated against them by the British colonizers, the Hudson Mestizo, and I'll tell you what Mestizo means. It's a half-breed, part European, French, or British, and part First Nations, which is what they called Native Americans in Canada. The rebels start a guerrilla warfare. Anne, played by Giulia Robini, youngest daughter of James Sullivan, played by Santiago Rivera, the representative of the British fur traders, the Hudson Bay Company, who has always shown open hostility to the mestizos, is kidnapped by the leader of the rebels, a Frenchman named Lamo, played by Franco Fantasia, and the insurgents who want to use her as a hostage. Entrusted with the custody of the girl is Victor de Frois, played by George Martin, a young man who has joined the rebels to avenge his brother's death, which was caused by Sullivan having the Canadian Mounted Police execute him on a false charge. Given the failure of all attempts to find and free his daughter, even torturing Nina, played by Diana Loris, who's in love with Martin Sullivan, promises the rebels freedom as long as they safely return the girl. An agreement is finally reached and Victor is in charge of bringing Anne home. He fortunately escapes an ambush by the treacherous Sullivan. Victor is surprised to find at his side Anna, who has finally realized the wickedness of her father and the validity of the claims of the mestizos. After a battle that ends with the annihilation of the rebels by the British troops, Anne and Victor are pursued by Sullivan and his men, but manage to reach the U.S. border. Now joined by a tender feeling of love, the couple now begins a new life, leaving behind forever their struggles and grievances. This is available on DVD only in the USA, but you can find it on Daily Motion if you want to watch it for free. As far as talking points go, there's not a lot. This was filmed in northern Spain to make it look more like Canada and the Great White North. The cinematography is very good. One of the distracting points of the film is that most of the time it's cabin bound and filmed on sound stages. There are too few action scenes, which most of us prefer in our spaghetti westerns. Still, the story is more historical fiction and looks like a frontier film with Davy Crockett coonskin caps and western duds. Nice appearances by Martin, Fantasia, Loris, Ralph Baldassar, and Mirko Ellis help add to the spaghetti western flavor. We even see an appearance by the Canadian Mounties fighting on the side of the evil Sullivan. Director Armando de Osorio, like I mentioned before, would later become known for his Blind Dead series of horror films. The film itself reminds me of the Canadians. It's a 1961 British USA co-production starring Robert Ryan, who plays a Mountie inspector who has to deal with the Sioux Indian tribe that has taken refuge in Canada after the Battle of the Little Bighorn. That's true. We see the Mounties caught in the middle between the Indians and a rancher, played by John Daner, who he suspects the Sioux have stolen his horses. Now we see in Rebels in Canada the Mounties monitoring the fight between the Mestizo trappers and the British Fur Company. This time the refugees flee south of the border to the U.S. to avoid trouble. As far as actor profiles, we've gone over a bunch of these before. Victor de Froist was played by George Martin. He was born Francisco Martinez Solero on September 18, 1937 in Barcelona, Spain. He was a member of the 1950 Spanish national Olympic team. Martin became a producer, director, writer, and film actor. After retiring from films, he moved to Miami, Florida, and became a real estate mogul and developer. He was scheduled to be on our podcast, but caught and died of COVID-19 on September 1st, 2021. He was 2 weeks shy of turning 84. Martin appeared in 19 spaghetti westerns. We covered him extensively in his own special episode, number 45. Then we have Muya or Soar, played by Pamela Tudor. You won't find much information anywhere on Pamela Tudor. What I know is from a message left on Julian Braithwaite's old spaghetti western board, where a woman left a message claiming to be Tudor's mother. She said Pamela's real name is Pamela Eddy, Eddy, and she is British. I did find where she was a dancer at the Lido de Paris. Most likely she was born in the late 1930s. What's become of her is unknown. She appeared in 6 spaghetti westerns. Then we have James Sullivan, played by Santiago Rivero. Santiago Rivero Marrero was born in 1917 in Arucas, Las Palmas, Gran Canaria, Canary Islands, Spain. He was a theater, film, TV, and voice actor. Santiago appeared in some 170 films and TV appearances between 1942 and 1983. He was also a prolific voice dubber. Rivero appeared in 24 spaghetti westerns before his death in Madrid, Spain on August 5, 1982, at the age of 65. Then we have Nella or Nina, played by Diana Loris. Ana Maria Cazorla Vega was born in Madrid, Spain on October 20th, 1940. She is a film, TV actress, and singer. She's the mother of a son and a daughter. She appeared in 60 films and TV appearances from 1960 to 2010. 18 of those were spaghetti westerns. We covered her before in episodes number 6 and 93. Anne Sullivan was played by Giulia Rubini. Giuliana Rubini was born in Pescara, Abruzzo, Italy On June 2nd, 1953, she's a film actress, singer, and married a soldier named Oliviero Crabbe, and is the mother of two children. She appeared in 35 films and TV series from 1953 to 1968. Six of those were spaghetti westerns. Juliana is now retired. Leo Lemieux, or Limus, was played by Franco Fantasia. Francisco Fantasia was born in Rhodes, Italy on March 5th, 1924. He's the brother of actor Andrea Fantasia and the father of Raffaella Fantasia, born in 1963. Often billed as Frank Farrell or Frank Fantasia, he was a production manager, assistant director, swordmaster, stuntman, film TV actor who appeared in over 150 films and TV series from 1951 to 2003. Among those were 22 spaghetti westerns. Fantasia died in Rome on November 10, 2002, at the age of 78. We've covered him before in episodes 35 and 92. Okay, that does it for Rebels of Canada. We'll move along now. And who are those gals? And Christa Nell. Okay, Christa Nell, according to most sources, was born Doris Christa Nell in Vienna, Austria on January 21st, 1946. However, various contemporary magazine articles and a comment on a blog make this seem likely that she grew up in Italy in the Turns near Merano, South Tyrol, where she was probably born, and that a real surname was Christa Nell. By 1965, she was in England and then went to Paris, whereas Christa Nell, she debuted in French cinema before settling in Italy, sometimes using the name Christa Nelli. In a handful of low budget productions, she was seldom the star, and most of the films were low budget fare and were ignored by the mainstream critics. Still, she became a minor starlet in Italian genre films, especially spaghetti westerns, horror, and sex comedies. Nell went on to star in such films as Xanthe, King of the Jungle in 1969 with Steve Hawkes, Ivanhoe, the Norman Swordsman in 71 starring Mark Damon, and So Sweet, So Dead in 72 with Farley Granger. Nell's final film was The Bloodsucker Leads the Dance in 1975, starring Giacomo Rossi Stewart, which she was supposed to be the main actress. But because of her physical condition, she turned in a secondary role, and Patrizia de Rossi was given the lead. Nell died of leukemia at the age of only 29 on June 19, 1975. She was the companion of actor Ettore Manni, and they appeared in 3 films together. I'll list her complete filmography after we do this episode, but quickly, she was in The Longest Hunt in 68 as Sheila or Tina, Full House for the Devil in 68 as a saloon girl, Django and Sartana Are Coming, It's the End in 70 as Cleo, Your Jinxed Friend, You've Met Sacramento in 70 as Evelyn, Blindman, which we'll cover later, in 71 as one of the brides, Kill Django, Kill First in 71 as Molly, Paid in Blood in 71 as Cora, and finally in 1972 in God Is My Colt as Mary Bryan. Okay, now we'll move on to Whatever Happened to, and it's Ettore Manni. Since Nell and Manni are linked together as a couple, I thought I would cover Ettore Manni and let you know what happened to him. Ettore Manni was born in Rome, Italy on May 6, 1927. He was a popular leading man during the 1950s and 60s when he was a star of the peplum genre. In the following decade, he primarily played supporting roles, with his last appearance in Federico Fellini's City of Women in 1980. While Ettore was still a university student, he was spotted by director Luigi Comencini who, despite his complete lack of acting experience, cast him in the lead role as of his crime drama Girls Marketed Danger in 1952. Following the success of the film, Manni turned to acting full time, appearing in quite a few films of multiple genres, becoming in short time one of the most popular leading men in Italian cinema, especially in sword and sandal films. His fame declined somewhat in the 1960s, though he maintained a healthy career in supporting roles. He appeared mainly in spaghetti westerns, police and crime, and adventure films, though he also took part in several international productions, including films by Delmar Davies, such as The Battle of Via Fiorita in 1965 and Tony Richardson's Mademoiselle in '66. Trading on his reputation as a rugged, masculine screen hero, Manni was cast in a co-starring role by Federico Fellini as Dr. Xavier Catzone in his surreal 1980 Battle of the Sexes comedy, City of Women. It would be his last film role, as he died shortly after completing his scenes. Manni appeared in 12 spaghetti westerns, usually as a supporting actor. He was Sheriff Bill Norton in Ringo and His Golden Pistol in '66, as Zoppo the Cripple in Stranger Say Your Prayers in '68, Sheriff Jensen in '73's Chino, and Thomas Barrett in Silver Saddle in 1978, just to mention a few. Again, I'll list his complete spaghetti western filmography once this episode is finished. Manni was married to actress Mirella Granelli, whom he met during the filming of Hercules Prisoner of Evil in '64. The two had a daughter named Alicia. After their divorce, Manni entered a long-term relationship with Christa Nell until her death in '75. Excuse me. Following Nell's death, Manni entered a period of severe depression. He died on July 27, 1979, at the age of 52 at his home in Rome from blood loss caused by a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his thigh. For years, it was considered an accident as he was thought to be cleaning a gun, but because of his severe state of depression, it's now thought to have been a suicide. It seems strange to me that you'd commit suicide by shooting yourself in your thigh. Anyways, that's what happened to Ettore Manni, and like I said, I'll post his complete filmography of spaghetti westerns after this episode is over. Now we'll move on to the film of the week, and it's Blindman. We've covered Blindman before when we covered Tony Anthony in his own special episode, but I thought we'd get into it in a little bit more detail since it's a cult classic with spaghetti western fans. It's a '71 British-Italian film co-production. The Italian title is Il Pistolero Cieco, which cieco means blind man in Italian. Another Italian title, the UK title, and the USA title are all Blind Man. The producers were Saul Swimmer and Tony Anthony. The director is Ferdinando Baldi. Story was by Tony Anthony. The screenplay was by Piero Incisi, Tony Anthony, Lloyd Battista, Vincenzo Cerami, and Ferdinando Baldi. The cinematography is by Riccardo Palatini. It's in Technicolor and Technoscope. Music is by Stelvio Cipriani, and it runs 110 minutes. The main cast is Blind Man, played by Tony Anthony, Candy, played by Ringo Starr, Domingo is played by Lloyd Battista, the Mexican General is played by Ralph Baldassar, Sweet Mama is played by Magda Konopka, and Skunk is played by Renato Romano. Also in the cast, familiar names are Pilar, played by Agneta Ekmar. A bit of trivia here. Agneta plays the murdered stagecoach passenger in the opening scenes of Juliana Gemma's A Sky Full of Stars for a Roof. For a long time, we wondered who has that blonde in the opening scenes. Well, it's Ekmar. The train engineer, which you only see for a second in the film, is played by Tito Garcia. The sheriff in the film is played by John Frederick. Frederick also pops up in Once Upon a Time in the West as one of Frank's henchmen, and in Duck You Sucker as the Yankee on the stagecoach scene in the beginning. Dude is played by David Dreyer. David Dreyer is actually David Petito. He's Tony Anthony's brother. And Salve Stubing and Diana Loris, Lucretia Love, Melissa Longo, Dominique Badu, Christa Nell, and Barbara Loy all appear as brides. Okay, the story goes a blind gunman, played by Tony Anthony, has been hired to deliver 50 brides to a group of minors. His partner Skunk, played by Renato Romano, double crosses him and sells them to a Mexican bandit named Domingo, played by Lloyd Batista, and his brother Candy, played by Ringo Starr. The women are taken to Mexico with the intention of selling them to the Mexican army, whom Domingo intends to double cross. Blindman, with the help of his seeing eye horse, finds the women and demands that Domingo return them to him. Domingo refuses and throws him out. Blindman cleverly kidnaps Candy and holds him for ransom for the 50 women. Domingo agrees, but when Blindman has them loaded onto a train headed north, he discovers the 50 young, beautiful women have been substituted for 50 gagged old women. Blindman is now out for blood and again confronts Domingo, who has him thrown into a dungeon with the captured Mexican general, played by Ralph Balthazar. Here he is tortured by the Mexican bandit's sister, Sweet Mama, played by Magda Konopka. Blindman helps the general to escape, turns the tables on Sweet Mama, and sets a trap for Domingo. In the end, he meets Domingo in a darkened cemetery building, and with the playing field now being equal, kills him, and the rest of the Mexican bandits are defeated by the general and his men, who have come to the rescue of our hero and the women. Okay, the film is one of the cult favorites of the genre and was based on the American film Westward the Women, I think in story plotline only. But the main character came from the Japanese blind samurai of Zato Ichi movies. The film was financed mainly for Ringo Starr, who had recently undergone a breakup with the Beatles in order to try and make him uh, get into an acting career. Alan Klein, business manager of the Beatles, was the money behind Blindman, and he even has a role as Skunk's new partner, the man with the rifle, who Blindman blows up. Tony Anthony was at his peak with some well constructed scenes and cleverly delivered lines. Batista is the best actor in the film, while Ringo, as his brother, fills a minor role and handles the scenes without a problem. Magda Konopka, as the perverted sadistic sister, is excellent eye candy. Ralph Balthazar, a regular in the Anthony films, is always a welcome addition and is perfectly cast as the Mexican general. A bit over the top in places, as the extermination of the Mexican general's men would have been a terrible idea in real life, as it brings down the wrath of the federales, and the treatment of his brides is a bit uh, rough in spots. Overall, it is an above average spaghetti western, if not the strangest or most bizarre of the genre, and a must see by all spaghetti western fans. The score is also well done by Stelvio Cipriani. The contacts used by Tony to give him the appearance of being blind were so painful and at one point caused an eye infection, were more than enough reason not to make a sequel. Robert Woods mentioned the same thing about his Pecos films. The film is available on DVD in France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Spain, the USA, Brazil, Argentina, or you can watch it for free on Amazon and Tubi. As far as actor profiles go, Blindman played by Tony Anthony. We covered Tony previously in his own special episode, number 59, but briefly, he was born Tony Roger Petito Jr. on October 16, 1937, in Clarksburg, West Virginia. He's a producer, director, writer, screenwriter, film actor, singer, and brother of actor David Dreyer, born Byron George Petito. He lived from 46 to 2015, and writer Antoinette Petito Light, who lived from 39 to 2011. Tony appeared in 8 spaghetti westerns. Today he's still writing books and living in West Virginia. We've asked him a couple of times to be on the podcast, but we've not heard a reply. Then we have Candy, played by Ringo Starr. Richard Starkey was born in Liverpool, Merseyside, England on July 7th, 1940. He's a producer, director, writer, cinematographer, composer, musician, singer, film editor, film and TV actor. Known to one and all as Ringo Starr, he was married to actress Maureen Starkey from 65 to 75, and the father of musician Zach Starkey, born in 65, Jason Starkey, born in 67, and Lee Starkey, born in 1970. He then married actress Barbara Bach in 1981. They're still married. He was a member of the Beatles, received an MBE as a member of the Order of the British Empire in 1965, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988, inducted into the Percussive Art Society Hall of Fame in 2002. He received an OBE as an Order of the British Empire in 2018. This was his only spaghetti western, although he was to appear in a Euro western called Saddle, Sore and Blue in 1980, but the film was never made. Ringo still tours with his all-star band, which I was able to see years ago, and it's well worth an effort, if possible, if you ever get a chance to see him do it. Then we have Domingo, played by Lloyd Battista. We covered Lloyd in episode number 122, but briefly he was born Lloyd McAteer Battista in Cleveland, Ohio on May 14, 1937. He's a screenwriter, theater, film, TV, and voice actor, poet, author, married to Monica G. Mahram, and father of Laura Battista. He's appeared in 6 spaghetti westerns, including the new Zorro TV series back in 1990, which starred Duncan Rieger. He was also a voice dubber and was the English voice of Luigi Pistillion for A Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Today he's retired and living in Oakdale, California. That's up by Fresno. Then we have Mexican General Raf Baltazar. We covered Raf in episode number 81. He was born Rafael Baltazar on June 17, 1932 in Giordano, Lecce, Italy, and was a producer, director, film, and voice actor. He died on January 11, 1995, a week before turning 63. Ralph appeared in 43 spaghetti westerns. Last but not least, we have Sweet Mama, played by Magda Konopka. She was born Malgorzata, it's Malgorzata, Jolanta Konopka, on March 15, 1943 in Warsaw, Poland. She was Miss Lady Universe in 1969. A model, film, and TV actress, she married Franco-Canadian billionaire Jean-Louis Dessy in Chelsea, London. They separated after only 3 months of marriage. She appeared in 2 other spaghetti westerns with Juliana Gemma and Mario Adorf in And for a Roof for a Sky Full of Stars in 68, where she played the widow Anka and / Dorothy McDonald, and as Maria in 68's Night of the Serpent with Luke Askew. As far as I know, she's now 81, retired, and still living. Okay, let's move on to the CD of the week. Okay, CD of the week. Rebels in Canada was done by Carlos Savina. It only came out on CD and it didn't come out until 2014. It came out on Beat number CD CR 124. It has 18 tracks of music with a listening time of 41 minutes and 27 seconds. It has a value of $9 to $18, depending on condition. Carlo Savina was born in Turin, Piedmont, Italy on August 29, 1919, and came from a musical family. His father was the first clarinetist for the orchestra of an Italian public radio broadcast system called EIAR. Carlo learned the violin as a child and went on to graduate from the Conservatory of Music Giuseppe Verdi in Turin, where he studied piano, violin, composition, and conducting. He is best remembered for being the music director for films such as The Godfather in '72, Amarcord in '73, and The Bear in 1988. He is the brother of sound engineer Federico Savina, who was born in '35 and died in 2023. Carlo died in Rome on June 21st, 2002, at the age of 82. He composed the scores for 30 spaghetti westerns, so he's one of the uh, godfathers of the spaghetti western score. Then we have Blindman, uh, composed by Stelvio Cipriani. This is the CD for Blindman. It was released in 2005 on CD from Italy on Digit Movies. On CDDM 044, it has 17 tracks of music, listening time of 44 minutes 20 seconds. Its value is anywhere from 14 to 48 bucks. A couple of rarities here is we have a song called Blind Man released by Ringo Starr, first in 1972 on a German 45 on Apple Records, number 1C006-05-028. Only has two tracks, listing time of $5.59. It's worth anywhere from 50 cents to $6.50. Then we have it released at the same time in Japan on Apple Records, EAR 10045. Again, two tracks, same listing time, 5 minutes, 59 seconds. The value here is 50 cents to $8.50. It's not on the original score, and no one knows whether it was recorded to be on the soundtrack or not. It's questionable. You can usually find this on eBay pretty cheap. The composer, again, was Stelvio Cipriani. Cipriani we covered previously in episode number 135. He was born in Rome on August 20th, 1937, and died from a stroke on October 1st, 2018. He was 81. He composed scores for 17 spaghetti westerns, another godfather of the spaghetti western score. Okay, let's move along to Autograph of the Week. Okay, Autograph of the Week is Charles Fawcett. Charles Fawcett was an American actor. He was born in Georgia in 1915 and died in London in 2008. He was in Apache's Last Battle as General Taylor. He was also in Savage Pampas as Private El Gato, and he was billed as Carlos Fawcett. If you ever get a chance, look him up on Wikipedia or just Google his name. Very interesting life. Was a great patriot. Okay, let's move on to Book of the Week. Okay, Book of the Week, and I told you about this one. I just got it last week. I started reading it. It's Sergio Leone by himself. Author is Christopher Frayling. Let me put my bookmark in here so I don't get lost. It came out in 2004. It's by Real Arts Press. It has 304 pages. They're thick pages. It's a hardback book, and it's in English. There's not a lot of writing by Christopher Frayling other than the introduction. These are basically a collection of reviews of Leone movies or interviews by uh, newspaper journalists with him. It's in order, so it starts off with his pre-Western days and continues up until his last days. So far, I found it very interesting. There's a lot of information in here, and I recommend it to anybody. It's about $35 USA plus shipping. You can get it on Amazon. It's available on all the other Amazons, Germany, Italy, or whatever. But again, it's highly recommended. Okay, let's talk about or show some posters from Tom's Poster Attic. Okay, first poster up is Belgium, Rebels of Canada. Always great artwork. That's the only poster I have of Rebels in Canada. The next ones are all going to be Blindman. Here's the Japanese poster. Don't really care for that one, but I've got another Japanese poster that's much better. This one was signed to me from Lloyd Batista when Bill Connolly and I interviewed him and Tony Anthony and the rest of the group, David Dreyer. Then I have a Yugoslavian blind man, and that's more of the traditional American poster. And then I have a Belgian poster, which is unique for them, a blind man, same design. Okay, that's it for the poster attic, and now we'll go to news of the week. Okay, news of the week. There's a new French Blu-ray release from the new 2024 Zorro TV series, directed by Emile Noblet, Jean-Baptiste Sorel, and starring Jean Dujardin, Audrey Dana, Salvatore Vieira, and Andre Dusselier, Eric L. Mosnino. It was released on December 31st on French TV distribution label. It contains 2 discs, number DTS-HD. It's in French with a total running time of 120 minutes. We also have a new Italian Western notified that's be coming out, starring John C. Reilly. This will soon appear on the big screen as Buffalo Bill. That's who he plays in Heads or Tails. It's a surreal Western by Italian directorial duo of Alessio Rigo de Righi and Matteo Zappas, who did The Tale of King Crab. The film is inspired by a true event that took place during Buffalo Bill's stay in Italy. It's now in production, takes its cue from a new bet famously waged on the outskirts of Rome between Buffalo Bill's American Cowboys and the Italian Cowboys on which team was better at taming wild horses. As Italian legend has it, the Italians won. So we'll see how this comes out. Uh, After that, we have just a bunch of Boot Hill. The first one, I thought this was interesting because I've run into his name and didn't know anything about him. Was novelist Lou Kerrigan was his nom de plume. He died on July 29, 2024 in Barcelona, Spain, 3 weeks after turning 90. He was born Antonio Miguel de los Angeles Custodios Vil Ramirez in Barcelona on July 2nd, 1934. He wrote some 1,100 novels under the multiple aliases such as Angela Antonino, Crowley Farber, Lou Flanagan, Anthony Hamilton, Saul Harrison, Anthony Michaels, Anthony W. Rower, Angela Windsor, uh, but he was best known for his westerns where he used the name Lou Kerrigan. 3 of his novels became spaghetti western films, and he wrote the screenplay for a 4th. The spaghetti westerns he was involved with are 20 Paces to Death and Stagecoach of the Condemned in 1970. 4 Candles for My Colt in 71. These were based on his novels. And he wrote the screenplay for 1971's And the Crows Will Dig Your Grave. Then we have Egidio Spugnini. He was an Italian production designer, set dresser. He died in Urbania, Pesaro, Italy on December 27th. He was 79. His collaborations include one with Elio Petri in Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion, and a film that in 1971 won the Oscar for Best Foreign Film. In 2017, he was awarded the honor of the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic. His bond with the Marche region is strong, and in particular with his Urbania. Spugnini was involved in 2 spaghetti westerns, Death played the flute in 72 as a production designer, and Brothers Blue in 73 as a set dresser. Then we have Canadian actor Angus McGuinness. He was famous for his role as Y-wing fighter Gold Leader John Dutch Vander in Star Wars. He died on December 23rd. He was 77. He was born in Windsor, Ontario, Canada on October 27, 1947. He also had roles in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and Hollywood blockbusters including Hellboy and Captain Phillips. He later appeared as Sonny Monroe in River City and Tostig in History Channel series Vikings, but he relocated to Edinburgh in the mid 1980s where he established a successful pizza restaurant. McInnes appeared in two Euro Western films, Louisiana as Albert in 1984 with Margot Kidder, and as Silic Cure in 2009's High Plains Invaders. Then, sad to report, we have Italian composer Nora Orlandi. She died in Rome on January 1st. She was 91. She was born in Voghera, Lombardy, Italy on June 28, 1933. She was also known by her pseudonym Joan Christian. She was an Italian pianist, violinist, soprano, vocalist, composer, and occasional actress. As the first female film composer of Italian cinema, she composed scores for spaghetti westerns, Euro spy films, giallos throughout the 1960s, and was best known for Dies Irae, a short piece she wrote and performed for Sergio Martino's The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward in 1971, which was later reused by Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill Volume 2 in 2004. Her younger sister is the singer-songwriter Paola Orlandi. Orlandi composed some of the best and most remembered scores of the spaghetti genre and will probably best be remembered for her scores for $10,000, Blood Money, and Johnny Yuma. Then we have Roger Pratt. He was a British cinematographer. He died on December 31st. He was a member of the British Society of Cinematographers since 1986. Pratt was born in Leicester, England on February 27, 1947, and is best remembered for his work on Batman, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Goblets of Fire, the 2010 remake of The Karate Kid, and Snow White and the Huntsman. Roger was a director of photography in the 1999 Euro Western Grey Owl. Also sad to report, Richard Harrison's beautiful Villa Francesca, which was named after his wife Maria Francesca Pimentel, we know her as actress Doria Norman, sitting atop its bluff in Malibu, was a casualty of the Palisades fire in Los Angeles. The beautiful estate overlooking the Pacific Ocean was ravaged by a firestorm that struck the Los Angeles community this past week. Richard and his family escaped safety and all are doing well. If you look at my Facebook page or William Connolly's, we've got a post of Sebastian Harrison at the estate after it was caught on fire. He was trying to put it out and got stuck there and had to run down to the ocean and hide in the rocks to keep from burning to death. Very telling. You can see all the fire in the background. Anyways, that will do it for this week. One final note, I want to wish happy birthday to Tony Williams. And until next time we meet, this has been a Roberto Giannisi production. Adios, amigos.